So I pretty much grew up in California, and mostly Southern California. And I left home when I was like 15 and a half. I thought I was really smart, and my dad was a jerk, which he was. And I thought it was better if I went my own way. Uh, but I kind of wished I'd have stayed a little bit longer, um, till I was at least 18, because it was a rough road. I learned a lot in a very short amount of time. Um, so I don't suggest it to any young person. Try to live it out, learn from your parents, do what's right. Once you leave, you can do whatever you want in your life. But always remember that your parents are not going to be there forever. You're going to regret it when you lose that time. But anyway, and especially when it's final. Anyway, uh, California is really an interesting place. There's so much to see and do, so many cities, so many places to go. And 3/4 of the state is LA County. It is not Los Angeles or any of that. Los Angeles is a really nasty city downtown. And if I ever had an address there, I sure wouldn't tell people I lived in Los Angeles, that's for sure. It's a nasty poo-poo place. But LA County covers about 3/4 of the state, oddly enough. Um, so I grew up in Artesia, Seal Beach, Long Beach, um, Marina Del Rey, Mar Vista area, Santa Monica, and Beverly Hills, Century City, and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, um, there's so many streets, and the expressway was nuts. Uh, and back home, they used to say, well, it doesn't make a difference what the speed limit is, just, go with the flow, and the police won't bother you. And the biggest thing of all is to ride in the far right lane, because they're always looking for the speeders that are in the far left lane on the expressway. So you're less obvious. And if you drive a white car, you're better off. If you have something racy and spiffy with a fancy color, it's like you're pinpointed. So, you want to try to be conservative. I didn't get any toy cars till after I was 21. And, that was probably a really good thing. uh, but anyway, they used to have this map, but it was called, I think, like the Thomas Guide. And this thing, it had like a, it was like a Neptune green cover, real light pastel, and it was real thick book. It was like 2 inches thick, and it was like a ringed binder thing, and then it had all these paper sheets in it. It was probably like 12 inches by 7 or 8 inches, and I bought a few of them, and they were like, I don't know, like $11. And I think the last one I had bought was probably 20. I don't know, but I bought several of them, and I think today of where did those go? People must have stolen them out of my cars. But what a handy item! As long as you could recite the alphabet and count, then you could look up a street anywhere in the LA County area in the book and look it up, like A3 or whatever. And once you found it in the book, which took time, then you could get there, because you could relate to things that were near it, whether it be the highways, the 405, or whatever. You could figure out how to get to it. I used to know my way so well that when I was on the expressway, and literally the expressway, especially the 405 coming from the valley, that was, this guy's got like his brights on, and I didn't go to the library today to get a book. Man. And so anyway, uh, uh, I would be on the expressway, and people would be sitting on the expressway. It was so bad coming from the valley that people literally brought books with them so they could sit there in traffic and read a book. I'm not kidding. That's serious traffic back home. It was so bad. Ugh. It was terrible bad. And always something was wrong. Like you were thirsty or you had to pee really bad, and you're like doing the pee-pee dance in your car. It's like, when am I going to get out of here? Then when you decide, well, maybe I better exit, if you can try to fit your way through eventually, that'll take hours too. By the time you get to the point where you can get all the way across the lanes to exit, then it's like near the exit you really needed. It's just ridiculous. And so I don't know what is up with this clown face. Maybe a good idea. But anyway, so it was interesting because if I could get off the expressway, I kind of knew like all the streets, and I was able to say, well, if it looks like traffic is ahead, I better get off there and I'll just take the streets. And today my baby sister lives out there, and I was just out there just recently, and it's so bad, the traffic on the city streets, that just going from Marina Del Rey to Culver City, that used to be a 6-minute drive, could take you an hour. There's so many cars, and there's no parking, none. And when they used to have parking lots for businesses and 4 gas stations, one on every corner, now the gas stations are few and far between. It's horrible. There's no parking. You go to 7-Eleven, which is, if you've never heard of that, it's a 24-hour store. You go by the 7-Eleven and they have like all of 4 parking spaces. It's like, oh my gosh. They have what they call little Nazis over there. They're the parking meters where you have to put money in them. And they are all over, and they're so expensive. They have a credit card slot in it too. It's ridiculous. When all you needed was a penny, a nickel, or dimes, and you could put a bunch of coins in there, and it would give you like 6 hours, And not today. It's like for 3 minutes is like $2.25 or something. At one of the ones I went to, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. With a minimum payment with a credit card, okay? Minimum payment. And so it was definitely interesting. But I don't know if you ever got to use one of those map books, but they were really neat if you had one. They were like gold. And it was a really, really handy item because, gosh, there's so many streets in California. And I have been from all the way up San Francisco, all the way down to San Diego. I used to go to TJ a lot. Go get drunk and eat carnitas tacos. Yeah. And I'm still looking for that marble chess set. I've had a couple of them, and they're gone since, but I would sure like a blue and white marble chess set. They're so pretty. And TJ's a place to get them. And guys, the last time I went to TJ, I think it was 2,000 pesos to the dollar. I mean, you could paint a car down there for nothing. But you have to stand over and watch them, because I didn't like tourists too good. But they did beautiful work. You want tuck and roll or diamond tuck interior, gosh, it would be beautiful. But again, you had to stand over and watch them. I had a friend one time that he start this up and give it some power. But he uh, uh, oh, this guy's terrible. That he went down to Mexico and partied and got so drunk that he passed out in a city park, and he ended up in the jail. And the reason he ended up in the jail was he passed out in the city park with a bunch of empty beer cans and mezcal, empty bottles of mezcal, all laying around him in the park from whoever. And they woke him up and said, "You're going to jail." And I was like, because I told him, I said, "How'd you end up in jail?" TJ. He's like, "Well, I passed out in the park, man, drunk, and they picked me up because there was bottles and cans all around me." I was like, "Okay." And I mean, that's back when you could buy a bottle of mezcal. This is the tequila with the crunchy worm in the bottom. It looks really creepy. And it's real expensive in the States. And then, just like Kahlua. And you could buy it 50 cents a bottle in TJ. 50 cents a whole bottle. Yeah. But, and ice is like $1.50 a cube. If you go to a club or a restaurant, if you want ice in it, it's going to be $1.50 a cube. Yeah. It's pretty funny. But, yeah. I went to a club down there in Tijuana that was definitely interesting. And the first thing you do is I borrowed a friend of mine's car. He had a brand new Firebird something. He had a beautiful, beautiful car. And I said, "Boy, I could go for some carnitas tacos in TJ." And I was up in, it's not Hawthorne. It was, I was out on Crenshaw, around 135th. I can't think of what city that is. And, but anyway, it may be Hawthorne. I was out by King Henry's. And I had a bodyguard. And he was a really big black dude. And he was like a big teddy bear. He was a doll. And I used to pay him to drive me to work in my own car, and then take my car with him. And I would pay him like $100 a night. And because back then it was very dangerous for you to go to work by yourself at the clubs, and you sure didn't want to bring your car, because if they knew your car, then they would follow you and stuff. And so you had to be really careful. But plus I never had to worry, if I decided to go out and party, I didn't have to worry about drinking and driving. So, I would have him drop me off and then come pick me up. So he had this really neat Camaro or Firebird that was like brand new. And I thought it was real cute. And he says, "Well, what do you think about?" I'm like, "I'm thinking about carnitas tacos and TJ." I'm like, "You want to go?" And he's like, "Nah." He said, "I got to work." And I can't remember what he did. I don't know if he actually did security or he worked a loading dock, drove a truck. I can't remember what it was he did. And so I was laughing, and he says, "You can take my car." I said, "You got insurance?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Great." I said, "I'll take your car." So I took this guy's car to TJ. I don't know what possessed him to let me have his beautiful car and take it to TJ, because pretty much once you go over that state line, man, your insurance is no good. They aren't going to protect you because it's a mess down there. So I took his car and went up to, a parking lot and went to park, and here comes the guy with the really ugly blankets. And he's trying to sell me these blankets. And he's like getting cheaper after like the fourth time he's chasing me through the parking lot. I'm like, "No, I really don't want them. I hate those blankets. They're so ugly." And So they're handmade blankets. A lot of people love them. Those little serape blankets. I don't like them, and probably because I've seen them entirely too many times. So I probably need to move because this guy's lights are really bothering me. They're hurting my eyes. So anyway, somebody's car alarm's going off. I bet that's in the parking structure. I'm down at Harbor Walk in Destin, Florida right now. Hopefully they won't have the real loud music on in this clip because it'll mess my YouTube up. This lot is so bad. Why they never paved this lot? They did plow it over a little bit. It's a lot better than it used to be. But it bites. That's either a car alarm or it's one of the boats down there. Oh, you know what has an alarm? This clown over here, he has alarms on his jumping stuff. So if people climb up after hours, then that flipping alarm goes off. I bet that's what that is. Which a lot of good that's gonna do. Oh, we're gonna arrest you for jumping on the jumping thing. Let's go over here. If I can clear my roof. Yeah, I can clear my roof without scratching the devil out of it. There's the boats. The fishing boats. Now let's straighten us out. I had to hold it while I was driving. So anyway, so I'm walking along. I got a pocket full of money. And so hoping to do a little shopping. It wasn't quite dark yet. And figured the car was probably in an okay spot. And so I went to go look at a couple stores, and you know, they didn't have prices or anything. You have to ask them. And I speak some Spanish in that, so you know, I did okay, but they were just too expensive. You know, I guess just because they saw I was a white girl, that, you know, I must be a tourist, so. But anyway, so I didn't buy anything from the first couple stores I went to. And then I would go back and check, because they always change your prices when you come back again. Because they love that American dollar. And it, like I say, it was like 2,000 pesos to the dollar. So, I mean, you're a rich person. I mean, you go down there. I think I had about $500 on me that night. I went down there. But anyway, so I was walking along, and I went to go in this one club. I'm like, oh, here's a cocktail lounge. And I went cruising through there, walked by the bar, white paint, about 10 stool bar. Bartender had one arm. I said, this is interesting. He kind of looked at me. And then I walked a little further, and then I saw their dancer on stage doing a beer bottle and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I said, I am in the wrong place. And so I start heading out, and I thought they were going to come after me, man, like 5 people. It was really strange. Really creepy, creepy, creepy. And, you know, that like the song, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So I got out of there and managed to shake the hoods off. And went down the street a little further, saw this really nice place. And it was a club. And walked to the front door, and I said, okay, so I want to go in and have a cocktail, you know, is this, you know, discoteca. And they were like, yeah, so then they said, but you have to pay to get in. And they had this sign up on near the ceiling, big sign with all these prices and stuff. And I'm like, okay. And so it was like 24,000 peso to get in. And then it was 2,000 peso for a strawberry margarita de fresa. And so I went in there and I drank like one or two margarita. Best dance club I think I've ever almost been to in my life, except for the Bonaventure Hotel in downtown LA. Whoa, that place was so much fun. So much fun. And stayed there for a few hours. It was awesome. And they were so nice and just so much fun. Everybody loved to dance. It was really cool. And had a blast. Just had a blast. Treated me like gold. Left there. Looked at a couple more shops. Almost bought something. Wasn't a good enough price for me. I went, nah. So then now I'm looking for carnitas tacos. And then, you know, the taco trucks are always the best. You know that. And so, anyway, I went to one. And it had, like dogs creeping around. And I'm like, this must be the cat taco place. I don't want this. Because you have to be careful. You get ratan or gato, you know. You don't want any of that. You want pork. And so finally when I got the right truck, I got a bunch of tacos. You know, they give you these little taco things. And they make them right there fresh. All the stuff, you know, the pico de gallo, all that lechuga, queso, tomate, you know, cebolla, all that in it. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. Oh, and then that street sauce. The street sauce they put on there, whoa, that rocks. And I mean, you could just like eat tons of them. Tons of them. And then you make sure and tip them. They, you know, they're really grateful to the money, you know, because they don't have much money there. And I just had a flipping blast. And then I decided to get ready to head on out. And I'm on the way to the car. And, you know, I'm watching my back and all stuff. You got to be streetwise, street tough. I'm watching my back. And here come the dude with the blankets again. Okay? Oh, my gosh. And he's chasing me down. And the price has gone from, like, I think it was $25 when I got there. And now we're down to about, like, you know, 3 of them for $10. And I'm like, man, I really don't want him. And he kept chasing me, spelling C. And he kept following me to the car all the way till I got to the door. And finally I said, well, hell, you know, this is probably what he does for a living. And his grandma probably makes those blankets. And there's people I know that really like that stuff. I can't stand it. I said, okay, I'll do 3 for 10. You sure? And he wanted to try to take it back. I said, no, go ahead. I'll do it. $10, man. So, he did it. Gave me 3 for 10. He tried to sell me another one, too, on top of that. And I said, no, I will do the 3 for 10. That's it. That's that. Finis. So, anyway, I got those thrown in the back seat. It's a long drive back home. Such a long drive. And going through the border, going in and going out. Going in is not as bad as trying to come out. Because they want to know anything that you have got, that you bought, so they can tax you or take it away. And then, you know, you're pending being searched, and they've got the American police, they've got the Mexican police, and it's like you're going through a war zone, you know, and you got to wait in line. Then when you get up there, you're real nice, and they're not very nice. They're real strict, real serious. And you're like, oh my God, am I going to get back into the United States? And when you finally get through, then it's like a bunch of dead, dark road. And it takes a long time to get back home, but what a blast. I did that so many times. I loved going to TJ, and people are like, why would you go to TJ? And I've never been anywhere else but TJ. My dad used to go down to Ensenada and Puerto Vallarta and all that a lot because he, did Olympic class racing and stuff, and racing competitions and stuff down there. Did the Ensenada races every year, and he usually took like first, second, and rarely took third. So I never got to go on those races. I wished I did. I really wished I did, but he never did that. But probably because once the race is done, all the crew member and everything go into the clubs and party their eyeballs out. It probably gets pretty wild. And they probably were hanging out at that bad strip joint that I went to on accident. I don't know. But anyway, my aunt Roseanne Cash, my dad's sister, she used to love to go to Mexico. And she liked to go because she liked to fish. And she would go on these fishing excursions and catch these huge fish. Had pictures of it and everything. But you know what she did with them? She left them on a boat, so they gave them to the local restaurant, And then they would cook one for her for dinner, and the rest they kept them because she gave them to them. And I'm like, that's what you did? I mean, you just, caught all those fish and then gave them away? And she's like, yeah. And she used to do that every year. She would go down there. I was like, okay. But anyway, so tell me down below if you ever had one of those Thomas street map books of Los Angeles County. They were the Bible of streets, that's for sure. If you didn't have that, you couldn't find your way. If you asked for directions, you had to ask 4 or 5 different people, and everybody gave you a different answer like it was a game. They would always tell you the wrong place, on purpose. And they were real serious, like they knew what they were doing or going to. And it's like, yeah, sure. Okay. But yeah, so anyway, I hope you guys have a really great day. It's been nice hanging out with you. And I hope it made you smile. Keep it light. Show the love. Love everybody. Make a new friend every day. Be kind to a stranger. And too much of a good thing is wonderful. And we'll just take so much of that. Talk to you later. I love you.